In the late 1940s, Russian scientists claimed to discover a gas which can make people deprived of their sleeps, keeping them both physically and mentally awake for months without need of taking rest. The main purpose of this gas was to make soldiers and army men capable enough for continuously fighting the war for hours and days without the need of sleeping. Eventually, before they could use this gas on Russian soldiers, they need to test this gas. So these scientists conducted an experiment on 5 prisoners. In return, these prisoners were promised freedom and dropping off every criminal charges on them if they could handle this experiment for 15 days, which was nothing but simply not to fall asleep for 15 days straight with the help of this experimental gas the scientists created. The prisoners agreed to it, and the next day, the prisoners were locked in a room where this specially designed gas was pumped into the sealed chamber to prevent prisoners from sleeping. These prisoners were inside a small windowless room with microphones so that scientists can communicate with them. There was an observation window which can be only seen through from outside. They had basic supply of food and water, books and everything else required for daily needs, but the only thing which was not there was a bed so that no one tries to sleep. The specially designed experimental gas was pumped into this sealed room through the vents, which was supposed to prevent these prisoners from sleeping. For first few days, everything seemed normal. Prisoners talked to each other, sharing their past experiences and traumas. However, on the fourth day, the prisoners began to show the sign of stress and paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and started whispering strange things into the microphone, like somebody is watching us. I can hear them speaking. Some of the prisoners would sit at the observation mirror for hours as if they were trying to see beyond it. Scientists thought that it was the early sign of paranoia and hallucination and continued this experiment further. But by the fifth day, these prisoners began to display severe agitation. They were becoming increasingly paranoid and suspicious of each other. One prisoner started running around the room, screaming at top of his lungs until his vocal cords were damaged, leaving him unable to speak. But the strange thing was that the other prisoners did not react to that screaming of that prisoner as if nothing happened. Soon they began tearing pages from the books, then pasting the pages over the glass mirror to block the observation window, which seemed quite weird. On the ninth day, the situation took a more horrifying turn. The room fell silent with no sound or communication among the prisoners. The scientists feared the worst and used the intercom to check on them. To their shock, the prisoners still appeared to be alive, but something seemed very strange. So they decided to enter the chamber. What they found was beyond explanation. One of the prisoners has become unrecognizable. He had scratched off his face. All other prisoners had also injured themselves, tearing chunks of their own flesh and muscles apart with their own bare hands. One of the prisoners even died in front of them when he ripped open his abdomen and was pulling out his own intestines. It seemed like they have become completely insensitive to pain, and the food which was provided to them remained untouched since day 5. When scientists asked why they have done this, the prisoners whispered, "Now we don't want to be free anymore." It looks like as if they had become addicted to this gas and seemed to fear sleeping more than anything else. Terrified by what they had witnessed, the scientists and researchers decided to end this experiment. The gas was turned off, and doctors were sent in to try and sedate these prisoners and repair their injuries. But as soon as the gas supply was cut out, the remaining prisoners screamed violently, begging for the gas to be turned back on and resisting all efforts to be sedated. One prisoner died almost instantly from the shock of being taken off that room. The security was called. The surviving prisoners, who showed superhuman strength and violent aggression, started attacking soldiers and doctors around. One of the prisoners managed to kill a soldier after ripping off his throat with his bare hands. and severely injuring several others before being shot. Now, out of original 5 prisoners, only 2 were still alive at this point. One of them had torn open his abdomen and was playing with his own organs, seemingly without any pain. The other had suffered severe injuries. Despite their horrific conditions, both prisoners were far more aggressive and unwilling to be sedated or get help. They want that gas to be turned on and remain in this room. The doctors tried to sedate the remaining 2 prisoners, even they were not ready, and conducted surgeries to repair their injured body parts. But even after 10 to 15 doses of anesthesia, he did not fall asleep or became unconscious. He remained conscious throughout the surgery, laughing like a maniac and demanding the gas to be turned back on. However, one of them died due to excessive blood loss. The last prisoner, who was alive for a few days before he died of heart attack, as his body was not able to withstand the strain of days without sleeping. The last prisoner's death marked the end of this experiment. This experiment has transformed these prisoners into something beyond a human creature of pure madness, somewhat a zombie driven by the fear of sleep. According to the story, all the records of this experiment were destroyed by the Soviet government, leaving nothing but rumors and whisper stories of horrors that unfolded. The experiment ended in utter failure, with no survivors and nothing to gain except mysterious consequences of sleep deprivation. But it is important to note that Russian sleep experiment is believed to be fake, as no evidence or historical document supports the existence of such an experiment was conducted ever. It was circulated around the internet as the real incident, but in the real it was just another conspiracy theory. But on the other side, the explicit details of the story seem to be quite real and terrifying for some. Remember that this was a highly secret experiment. Why would anyone ever find any document or evidence regarding that? Anyways, I leave it up to you folks to decide whether this incident was real or fake. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all again in some other video with another interesting topic. Till then, goodbye.